Sangye Churdan Soki Chobnam La Jang Tu Bardu Dagni Kapsuchi Taki Chernyan Gi Pe Sonam Ki Rola Penchir Sangye Drupal Shu Sangye Churdan Soki Chobnam La Jang Tu Bardu Dagni Kapsuchi Dagi Chernyan Gi Pe Sonam Ki Rola Penchir Sangye Drupal Shu Sangye Churdan Soki Chobnam La Changchu Bardu Dagni Kapsuchi Dagi Chernyengi Pe Sonam Ki Rola Penjir Sangye Druparsho.
Thank you, Bob. Okay, so let's just do a couple of minutes meditation on the breath. So I think the purpose of my life is to lead all sentient beings from suffering to enlightenment. in order to do that, first I have to reach enlightenment myself, and that depends upon studying, thinking about, meditating on, realizing the entire path to enlightenment, especially the bodhisattva path to enlightenment. And following the bodhisattva path correctly and successfully depends upon taking the bodhisattva vows. Therefore, this morning I'm going to continue my study of bodhisattva vows in order to reach enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. So, there are two goals. The ultimate goal is the enlightenment of all sentient beings, and the slightly shorter term goal is our own enlightenment so that we can accomplish that. Good morning. Okay, so last time we got up there, we've done the 18 root vows, and we've done the first half, 23 out of 46 of the branch vows, going through Geshe Tashi Tsering's commentary. So you can look at that if you have it. So the branch vows we looked at were the secondary downfalls, as Geshe-la calls them. There were some related to, so these are related to the 6 perfections. So there are a bunch related to generosity, a bunch related to morality, a few more related to patience, a few more related to joyous effort or enthusiastic perseverance. So that brought us to number 5, the 5th group of downfalls related to the perfection of concentration. So here Geshe-la says there are 3 downfalls related to the perfection of concentration. Lama Tsongkhapa says they are what we need to avoid during the preparation for the practice of the perfection of concentration, the actual practicing of the perfection of concentration, and after practicing the perfection of concentration. So the first one, number 24, which is the preparation for the practice of the perfection of concentration. So this is a downfall, not seeking the means to develop concentration. So if we're baby bodhisattvas, we have to try to develop concentration, obviously. The first one, not seeking the means to develop concentration, is to do with preparation. Here we have taken the bodhisattva vows, but due to a lack of enthusiasm or effort, or as Lama Tsongkhapa says, due to arrogance or habit, we do not seek help from others on how to develop concentration. That is breaking a vow. We might have an attitude that we have heard so many teachings on developing concentration that we've heard enough, but we still don't have concentration. So that kind of attitude is an obstacle. By the way, as Karen has been letting us know, Jada Rinpoche is giving highest yoga tantra, Tara Jenang. What, in a couple of hours' time is it? For Maitripa College. And that will include giving the Bodhisattva vows. So since we're all boned up on the vows, or we will be by the end of this session, if you haven't taken them and you feel that now you understand what they are and you'd like to, then that's an immediate opportunity. Is it 1 o'clock Eastern time, Karen?
2 o'clock.
Huh? 2 o'clock. Okay. So anyway, you can find out, you should know how to do that. Maitripa College. Anyway, so not seeking the means to develop a concentration is the first downfall related to concentration of the secondary bodhisattva vows. The next one, 25, not abandoning the 5 obscurations that hinder meditative stabilization. So here we might have had instructions on developing concentration, but we're not really putting them into use. We're not using the methods we've been taught to overcome the obscurations, which are not directing the mind to the object during meditation, forgetfulness, laxity and excitement, non-application, and application. I just actually I did a workshop yesterday for Thupta Norbuling in Santa Fe, New Mexico, on integrating concentration meditation with analytical meditation. And one of the things I was looking at was this chart of the 9 stages leading to shamatha that breaks it down. The elephant and the monkey, the Shine chart. It shows the 9 stages of developing calm abiding. So I was wondering if these 5 are here. They're not quite spelled out. Okay, so the methods to overcome the obscurations are not directing the mind to the object during meditation, forgetfulness, laxity and excitement, non-application, and application. So of those 5, this downfall mainly refers to distractions and mental sinking. So, scattering is one of the main obstacles to developing single-pointed concentration. At the beginning, when we sit here trying to focus on the breath, our mind really doesn't want to stay there. It wants to go here, wants to go there. That's scattering or distraction. And then there's another obstacle called mental sinking or sluggishness. Lama Yeshe called it. Our mind gets kind of drowsy and dark. We kind of want to go to sleep, and the object we're trying to focus on becomes very unclear. So not directing the mind to the object of meditation means not applying the mind, not concentrating on the object of meditation, whether it's just the breath or whatever. Forgetfulness is where we have an object of meditation, but we forget it. We drift off. So, that's why we can't keep our mind focused on the breath because we forget. That's what we're supposed to be doing. Our mind, our memory is very short when it comes to that. And, mainly because we're not used to doing it. So, not trying to overcome that is part of this downfall. Laxity is slightly different. Although we might have some focus, we still have no clarity. Every now and then, the mind still gets distracted. Non-application means that when laxity or excitement come, we do not apply the antidote to dispel that obscuration. Application, on the other hand, means we do apply the antidote, even though we do not need to. So that's, employing the antidote when it's not needed. When the mind is really on the object with clarity and freedom from laxity or excitement, if at that stage we apply the antidote, that is an obscuration. So although during the preparation time, we've collected lots of information, we're not using that information to really tackle those two main obstacles in order to develop concentration. So this really applies if we're trying to seriously develop shamatha or calm abiding. And that's kind of pretty hard to do as part of our daily life, as part of our daily practice. We can make a little progress if we really spend time in the morning and evening, an hour or so really trying to develop. But what we really need to do is to go into retreat for a month or 2 months or 3 months, a significant period of time, and really try to develop our concentration. And then when we have to come back to our regular life, then the morning and evening meditations will be more productive. But, if we really want to do it, someone who really wants to do it is supposed to go off into retreat and stay in retreat until they've accomplished it, no matter how long it takes. So, it's not really something most of us can do, or any of us can do. We live at a very interesting time, but we live at a time of many distractions. And there's a verse in the Bodhicharyavatara. I don't remember exactly how it goes, but Shanti Deva is sort of wistfully musing on, when will the time come when I can wander alone in the forests, meditating and thinking of the welfare of sentient beings, something like that. So renouncing everything and just going off and really engaging in intense practice, to make the most progress in the shortest possible time. So it's kind of, it's something we can only dream about, really, being able to do that. Theoretically, it should be possible, but and for a little while there it was, when we were living in Nepal, Kopan in the 70s, and we really didn't have any pressure to leave. And we had the mountains right there with retreat places and monasteries and caves. It could have been possible to go off and do that, but and just stay in retreat. In fact, one of the students who was at the third course, it was the first one that we'd done. This guy and I had done. By the end of the course, he realized that the only thing to do is to go into retreat and meditate and attain single point of concentration, and then other realizations on the path. So he was totally determined to go into retreat. And after the course, he went to Tushita Retreat Center in Dharamsala and just settled down to meditate until he reached enlightenment. And I think it lasted about a year, just over a year. And then his body completely started to I won't say break down, but go wrong. He had terrible lung, lung, the sort of wind, when your elements get out of balance, especially your wind element, and you have this incredible anxiety at your heart and almost not quite a panic attack, but it just makes you so nervous. And then sometimes you can start to have the worst. There's different kinds of lung. Lung is the Tibetan word for prana, or the wind energy. It's what the mind rides on through the channels, and if it gets out of whack, there are 10 different kinds of winds. There are 5 major ones and 5 minor ones. I can't remember all their names now, but the worst one to go wrong is called the Soglung, the life-holding wind, which is kind of centered at your heart chakra. And Rinpoche told us once about a monk up in the mountains near Laudo that had this really bad soglung, it's called, the disturbance of the life-holding wind, soglung. And he saw, when he looked around the mountains and the whole thing, everything was kind of moving and the ground appeared blue, and I mean, it was like these hallucinations, So this Western student, most of 1973 he retreated, and then in 74 he came out to Bodh Gaya to get ordained with a bunch of the rest of us and become a monk. And then he went back to Kopan, and then he tried to continue meditating, but every time he sat down, his body would just uncontrollably go to one side or the other, as whenever he closed his eyes, try to meditate, and sort of became impossible. So Lama Yeshe's solution to this guy who wanted to spend his whole life in retreat meditating to reach enlightenment, Lama Yeshe sent him down to Kathmandu to run a business, which I think he still does 50 years later. So, no matter what we wish, if our karma isn't right, if we haven't prepared the ground, we can, like Shantideva, we can wander off into the cool forests to meditate. But, if we don't get eaten by wild animals, we might get lung. So lung is the word for this, the wind energy, but lung is also used to describe disturbances of the wind energy, and that's what he had, and it just caused him to tilt uncontrollably. Bill, I can see a hand raised. I can't see. There he is.
I just want to mention again that on Vimeo, the video site, Ribush Rinpoche has a series of lectures that lay out the entire path of development. And even though we may not be able to do it, I believe that he was, in fact, able to do it. And so I found those very interesting and amusing too. So I recommend Ribush Rinpoche. I think there's a reincarnation of him now.
Yeah, there is. So It's Ribush Rinpoche, not Ribush Rinpoche. In case there's any confusion there. That's a development of what? Concentration. Yeah, so that's on Vimeo, Ribush Rinpoche. So that'd be good to check out. Okay, so although during preparation time we've collected lots of information, we're not using that information to really tackle those two main obstacles in order to develop concentration. So then the third one, this is 26, being addicted to the joy of meditative absorption. After a practitioner has gained genuine concentration, real shamatha or shine in Tibetan, there's a risk of becoming attached to the blissful feeling that meditation induces. When a person gains genuine shine, they can meditate hour after hour without any physical or mental difficulties. There's no exhaustion at all, just sheer joy and pleasure. So the risk is that if we are not very careful, we may spend our time just experiencing that joy, and that is breaking a vow. The infraction is not about enjoying the bliss of shine, but about becoming attached to it and forgetting the real reason we're meditating, which is to develop other qualities such as compassion and wisdom. That kind of mind, which is completely focused, where there are no distractions, mental sinking or dullness, that kind of quality of mind, when turned towards compassion and wisdom, will be a really powerful mind. In Buddhism, we're developing shine for that reason alone. To realize emptiness and to get enlightened. Of the 8 concentrations, 4 to do with the form realm and 4 with the formless realm, people in non-Buddhist schools might have developed up to the 8th with perfect techniques, but after that, what will they do? I'm not saying shine isn't a wonderful thing to accomplish, but it is a tool, not an end in itself. Merely developing shine will not take us that far. If we manage to develop shine in this lifetime, when we take another life, that shine will not be there. I think Lama Tsongkhapa here put it very nicely, saying this third downfall is connected to what happens after developing concentration. So there are these different levels of concentration, and Venerable Gyatso has, in this book, The World and Ourselves, has very nice diagram of, if I can find it. The different levels of God realm that we can be born in, developing on the level of concentration we've reached. But rebirth in these realms isn't an end in itself. So it's got these birth states within the wheel of life. So the 4 formless realm, the 4 levels of the formless realm. So we always talk about the 6 realms of samsara. It's also divided into 3 realms, the desire realm, the form realm, and the formless realm. So most of the form and formless realms are to do with levels of concentration. So in the Sura realm, or the God realm that we talk about as the 6th of the highest of the 6 realms of cyclic existence, there are, I think, 27 levels. There are 6 desire levels of gods in the desire realm, which is the realm the other 5 general samsaric realms are in. The demigods, humans, animals, hungry ghosts, and hell beings. And there are 6 levels of gods in the desire realm. And then there are 17, supposedly. I can only see 12 he's mentioned here. I thought it was 17 in the form realm and 4 formless realm gods. So that the 4 formless realms don't have a skandha form, hence they're called formless. It's just levels of mind. And also this book, Meditative States in Tibetan Buddhism, goes into much more detail. The subtitle is the concentration and the 4 formless absorptions, something like that. Concentrations and the formless absorptions. So, it's quite a detailed subject. But these are levels of concentration we want to pass through, we don't want to get stuck at. And the experience of some of them, the higher ones, is so blissful that it's possible to mistake that for liberation, but it's actually just a higher state of in-cyclic existence. And if we get stuck sort of enjoying that, then when our karma runs out, we get reborn in the lower realms. We've burned up all our merit. So we always have to really have strong bodhicitta, no matter what we do, including developing concentration, so that we always know that it's just a tool for us to use to become enlightened as quickly as possible, and not get stuck there, as Geshe-la says, being addicted to the joy of meditative absorption. And when we develop single-pointed concentration, there is sort of incredible pliability of body and mind, and experience of what Lama Zopa Rinpoche calls rapturous ecstasy, which sounds really good, but it's just a step on the way. It's not a goal in itself. But, rapturous ecstasy would be nice. So then the 6th division are the downfalls related to wisdom. Then there are 8 secondary vows in connection with the 6th perfection, which is wisdom. We will see in these 8 that there are some similarities with some of the 18 root vows. But here Lama Tsongkhapa made quite clear that there are differences. The first 4 are connected with mundane or ordinary things. (27) Abandoning the path of Theravada as unnecessary for one following the Mahayana, Theravada or Hinyana. So I mentioned last time or the time before, when we're talking about Hinyana and Mahayana, that Geshe Ngawandage, in this book, Tibetan Tradition of Mental Development, which is one of the first lamrim books in English, certainly one of the first from Gelug tradition translated. I think this came out in 74, from the Library of Tibetan Works and Archives in Dharamsala. And so Geshe Ngawandage said there are 6 reasons Mahayana is called great, as opposed to the Hinyana, which is kind of not so great, lesser. So the aim is great because it's for the benefit of all sentient beings. The purpose is great, for it leads to the omniscient state. The effort is great. The ultimate goal is great because it's Buddhahood rather than mere freedom from samsara. The concern is great, as it's for all sentient beings. And the enthusiasm is great, as the practice is not regarded as a hardship. So those are why the Maha means great. Mahayana, the great vehicle. Okay, that was an aside. So abandoning the path of Theravada or Hinyana, as I've said before, Lama Yeshe used to explain that after Buddha passed away, his followers were followers of the Hinyana, lesser vehicle, the ones who were around him at the time. I don't know where the Mahayana practitioners were, but after he passed away, there were some disputes among the Sangha, and Buddhism Hinayana broke into 18 different schools. So that's quite a difference of opinion there. 18, and one of those schools was called the Theravada, the doctrine of the elders. And of those 18, that's the only one that has survived to this day. So that's why Theravada is sometimes used as a synonym of a Hinayana, because a lot of people feel Hinayana is kind of pejorative term, lesser as opposed to greater. But, Geshe Dage explains why Mahayana is great as opposed to the other vehicle. So the first secondary downfall connected with wisdom is very similar to the 13th root downfall, which is causing others to completely abandon their vows of self-liberation. Lama Tsongkhapa explains that the difference is that the root downfall is very much connected with monastic vows, whereas this one is mainly referring to our attitude of non-Mahayana views, our attitudes toward non-Mahayana views, particularly selflessness. Losing our individual liberation vows is more dangerous than losing or not studying non-Mahayana, because the monastic vows are the basic fundamental Buddhist teaching. Losing our individual liberation vows, our pratimoksha vows, like our 5 lay vows, is more dangerous than losing or not studying non-Mahayana, because the monastic vows are the basic fundamental Buddhist teaching. Well, the monastic vows or the pratimoksha vows. From the Sutrayana point of view, whether the Buddha's teachings exist or not in this world depends on whether there are Vinaya teachings or not. Without Vinaya teachings and Vinaya practices, no matter how available other advanced Buddhist teachings and practices are, we can say there is no Buddhist teaching. That is why the previous downfall is a root downfall, whereas this one, referring mainly to non-Mahayana teachings on selflessness, is a secondary one. That is not to say studying them is not important. It is, and thinking of them as unimportant is breaking this vow. So if you remember in the Perfect Human Rebirth teaching, there are 8 freedoms and 10 richnesses. And the second of the 10 richnesses is, having this quality is the second richness of the 10, and that's being born literally in the center of a religious country. So the commentaries say that there could be 2 definitions of center of a religious country. Geographically, the center of a religious country is Bodh Gaya in India, where the Buddha reached enlightenment. So being born in that area can be considered the second of the 10 richnesses. But the other way that richness is explained as a religious, and being born in the center doesn't really mean being right in the middle. It means just being born within a religious country, and that a religious country is defined as one where the lineage of the pratimoksha ordination still exists, as Geshe just said here. So if the lineage of the ordination exists, it means you can be ordained as a monk or nun. And that having that option is the second richness. Or even just having the option to take one or more of the 5 lay vows. If that opportunity exists, if the lineage of that ordination still exists in a place, and a country doesn't mean like a national border, it just means an area. If you're in a place where you can take one of these levels of pratimoksha ordination, then that's considered a religious country, and you have that second richness. So that to understand this, there's a lot of details in there, so you need to read it and think about it. 28, exerting effort principally in another system of practice while neglecting the Mahayana teachings that one already has. This next downfall is the other side of the previous one. Instead of not abandoning non-Mahayana views, here it's saying if people are already following a bodhisattvayana path, we should not encourage them to abandon the Mahayana by putting emphasis on Mahayana teachings. If we do, there'll be a problem. So here we're searching for a balance. The previous one is not seeking to discourage people from studying non-Mahayana teachings. This one is seeking to discourage people already in the Mahayana practice by drawing their interest too much toward the other side of the teaching. The balance is studying non-Mahayana teachings without losing the effort of practicing Mahayana teachings. So, if we study, in the 70s, when people were just kind of learning to get into Tibetan Buddhism, it was just sort of becoming available fairly widely in India and Nepal anyway. There are a lot of students who'd gone to study with masters in Burma or Thailand, in the Thai forest tradition with Ajahn Chah, or Mahasi Sayadaw in Burma, or these, or with S.N. Goenka in India, studying what they call insight meditation or vipassana, which was very popular. And then people who went to do the 10-day course with Goenka, one of his conditions was if you're doing this course, you have to stop all your other practices. So if you take an initiation or you had daily commitments, mantra recitations, he demanded that everybody stop doing those during this 10-day course, that all you had to do was focus on the practices he was teaching, which is, well, I know Deborah did all that in Burma, didn't you, Deborah?
I did not do the Goenka because I didn't like the restrictions. You couldn't,
No, but you studied in Burma, right?
Right, but Mahasi Sayadaw Center. Oh,
so they didn't tell you have to give up reciting your mantras?
No.
Academy?
They probably didn't even acknowledge that. I don't remember, but I hadn't met the Mahayana at that point, so I wouldn't have paid much attention anyway.
So, there are a lot of people studying with those Vipassana teachers. And what did he teach? What did they teach there particularly?
They teach the insight meditation, the focusing on the breath and mindfulness meditation, not just concentration, but actually recognizing what arises in the mind and eventually aiming to develop awareness of selflessness and impermanence and dukkha. That's the goal.
Right. So those are very worthwhile studies. So the previous vow is you're telling people, I don't study that. That's, you don't need to do that. Just have to study, bodhicitta and like that, So kind of putting down those teachings, which is, big, as we've spoken before, it's a big mistake. But then encouraging people to give up Mahayana to do those other studies is also, if someone's already, taken the bodhisattva vows, they're sort of discouraging them from that. So you don't need to do really that. Just what you really need to do is, insight meditation and just learn how to meditate properly and like that. So, so people even, who wanted to do that, do a Goenka course, they even went to His Holiness and asked, can I ask permission to give up their Tibetan practice for 10 days, even though they'd committed to do this or that for every day. So there was quite a bit of confusion around there at that time. So basically, we're allowed to study all these different teachings, but we should never give up our bodhicitta. If you start even bodhicitta, it becomes a Mahayana practice, actually. In the early days at Chenrezig Institute, it was just getting going. And this woman called Mary showed up, and she was supposedly a spirit medium. She was a medium for, the story's in Big Love. I can't remember the name of the spirit that she was supposedly channeling. So everyone got really excited about that. And, there were lamrim teachings and stuff going on at Chenrezig Institute, but she lived in a house nearby. So nearly everybody left the Institute to go and study with her and her spirit. And just, the nun Yeshikado who was running the center was left, and maybe one or two other hardcore students of Lama Yeshe, but people were very excited about this woman who was channeling the spirit, and the spirit would answer their Dharma questions. And then I think then Lama Yeshe came either that year or the next year, and even Anne McNeil, who was one of the first nuns, and who helped Rinpoche run the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th courses at Kopan, and then Lama sent her to Australia to run the institute. Even she kind of was quite taken by Mary for a while. So, giving up your Mahayana practice to go and follow a spirit medium is breaking this vow, if not others. It's because, totally against refuge. So the next one, 29, without good reason, exerting effort to learn or practice the treatises, I think, of non-Buddhists, which are not the proper object of one's endeavor, like the spirits. In order to benefit people, we need to understand all philosophies, Buddhist and non-Buddhist. This downfall is placing effort on studying non-Buddhist philosophies without that bodhisattva motivation, through idle curiosity, but because the philosophies attract us. In other words, from the point of view of someone on the bodhisattva yana path without good reason. So we're not, we're not going off to study with Mary because we want to understand what a spirit medium is and what spirits are, so that we can understand other sentient beings better, so we can help them reach enlightenment. But we kind of get sucked in by these non-Buddhist things. A lot of people, I don't know a lot, but several people who came to Kopan in those early courses and got into the lamrim and, thought they were going to be practicing Buddhism. Then they got lured down to Pune to study with Rajneesh, and some of them never came back. That was so much easier than keeping precepts and doing difficult meditations and stuff. It was it's kind of like a big party, and disguised as a spiritual path. So a lot of people gave up their Mahayana practice to go and do whatever Rajneesh was teaching. A teacher or spiritual master will be asked by their disciples about non-Buddhist ideas, so they need to know about them, but they're not necessary for their practice. Understanding them is to benefit their disciples, and that is a very good reason. We commit this downfall when we do it without the bodhicitta motivation. So Lama Yeshe took an interest in a lot of non-Buddhist things in order to be able to understand his Western students better. He liked, he had people tutoring him on Western psychology, psychologists who came to Kopan, and he liked to spend time with some Christian monks to understand a little bit about Christianity, and so he did a lot of things, but all just in order to understand people better, never moving from the Mahayana path. 30, beginning to favor and take delight in the, it says treatise here, it must be, I don't know if anyone's following along here. I think it's treatises of beginning to favor and take delight in the treatises, texts of non-Buddhists, although studying them for a good reason. So the next one takes it a bit further. We're studying non-Buddhist philosophies for a good reason, but then we get attached to them. Actually, Lama Tsongkhapa says that these four are not really that important points, but these are vows in connection with developing wisdom. 31, abandoning any part of the Mahayana by thinking it's uninteresting or unpleasant. This downfall, again, is similar to the fourth root downfall, doubting and denying the doctrine of the great vehicle. The difference is that this secondary downfall is very much connected with the wisdom side, such as the emptiness teaching, rather than the method side, such as bodhicitta. So, we have these two streams of Buddhist lineage, method and wisdom. So wisdom is to do with, the Manjushri Nagarjuna side, realizing emptiness, and the method side is, the Maitreya Asanga side, developing bodhicitta, and this, where the bodhisattva vows come in, and so on. So, so we need to develop both sides, like the bird needs two wings to fly. So, so abandoning any part of the Mahayana, thinking it's uninteresting, unpleasant, is breaking this minor vow. In 32, praising oneself and belittling others because of pride and anger. This downfall is also very similar to the first of the 18 root downfalls. Praising oneself and belittling others was just like that. This one adds because of pride and anger. Here the difference is whether the four factors are needed or not. For the root downfall, they are. Otherwise, this is a secondary downfall. There's some disagreement between scholars But Lama Tsongkhapa's conclusion is that it's a root downfall if the four conditions are present. To repeat the four, not seeing what you are doing as a negative action, no willingness to stop, a sense of great joy, and no sense of shame or embarrassment. If one of these four factors is missing, then it becomes the secondary downfall rather than the root downfall. So remember, we need these four root downfalls to break, we need these four conditions to break any of the 18 root downfalls, except for the two, developing wrong views and giving up bodhicitta, subscribing to wrong views and abandoning bodhicitta. Those who don't need the four conditions. 33, not going to Dharma gatherings or teachings. Lama Tsongkhapa says this is a downfall because it will reduce our own opportunity to increase our wisdom. If we miss out on teachings, we'll have less information, and that will hinder our development of wisdom. In order to develop wisdom, 3 steps have to be taken: listening, contemplating, and meditating. So the first is the gathering of information. Without it, there's nothing to contemplate. You know what the Sakya Pandita said, the person who meditates without first studying is like an armless rock climber. So no scaling El Capitan without arms. So we have to study in order to be able to meditate. 34, disparaging the spiritual master. This is the last secondary downfall connected to the perfection of wisdom. Lama Tsongkhapa says we should not commit this one because having a strong resentment towards a person giving teachings will reduce our accumulation of merit. In order to accumulate merit, paying respect and recollecting the spiritual master's kindness is very, very important. The more we resent the spiritual master, the more we distance ourselves from spiritual activities. While the closer we feel to a spiritual master, the more chance we have to do spiritual things. That seems quite logical to me. If we develop a sense of dislike or resentment towards the spiritual master, towards our guru, the result will be that we'll keep a distance from him or her, and the more we do that, the greater the risk will be that we'll be trapped in another direction, in non-spiritual things. Well, when we study the teachings on guru devotion, like in Rinpoche's book, the Heart of the Path, I mean, having negative attitude or giving up a spiritual master is like one of the worst, most negative things we can do. So this is kind of having it as a secondary bodhisattva downfall is okay as part of these vows, but in general, as part of our spiritual practice, it's kind of, abandoning our guru or disparaging our guru or getting angry at the guru is really one of the worst things. That includes suing the guru. So not only is that a bodhisattva downfall, I think it's a huge blow to our spiritual practice. So those are the secondary downfalls related to the 6 perfections. But wait, there's more. 7, downfalls related to ethical practice to benefit others. As I've already said, the perfection of ethics is divided into 3: keeping the vows as purely as possible, collecting as much virtue as possible, and undertaking ethical practice to benefit other sentient beings. Generally speaking, the 18 root downfalls are connected with the first ethical practice, that is keeping the vows as purely as possible. And of the 46 secondary downfalls, from 1 to 34, those are the ones we've just done, are connected with the second one, collecting merit. While these last 12 are connected with the third one, the ethical practice to benefit others. So I'm trying to think of the quote in Guru Puja, but I can't remember it exactly. But it mentions these three, you know, to abandon creating negative actions, create positive actions, and to benefit others is kind of the essence of the practice of the perfection of morality. So generally speaking, the 18 root downfalls are connected with the first ethical practice, that of abandoning negative actions. The second one is collecting as much virtue as possible. So those are the first 34 secondary downfalls. And the third ethical practice of benefiting sentient beings. Now these remaining secondary downfalls relate to that one. These divisions, however, are not completely clear-cut. Lama Tsongkhapa has further divided these 12. The first 4 concern general sentient beings we need to benefit, although, of course, we need to benefit all sentient beings. So these next 4 are that. Not helping those who are in need. When you take the Bodhisattva vows, you make a promise to help others. So if you do not do that, you are breaking that promise if you don't help others. If somebody says they're in trouble and we tell them we can help them and then we fail to do so, that's quite bad, isn't it? So we need to help others in need. 36, not helping people who are sick. This is much the same as the previous one, but here concentrating on sick people. Whether we have some connection with the sick person in this lifetime or not, we should not avoid helping them. There are some exceptions due to various circumstances. For example, when we offer to help a sick person, but the family rejects it, then we should not interfere. Or if the sick person asks for more than we can do, we need to be skillful. Say they want some specialized medical help and we're not trained, of course we should not do this. It would cause more harm than good. So what if a person's really sick and they ask us to help end their life? Should we do that or not? Something to think about. Brings in a lot of different, points to think about. Because one of the Bodhisattva vows is not breaking one of our 7 pratimoksha vows, or not doing one of the 7 non-virtuous actions, if it will be beneficial to do so. So the first one is not killing, so helping someone end their life is, part of the non-virtue of killing, but anyway, I don't know if someone asks us to help them end their life, whether when they're really in a lot of pain and suffering, should we do that or not?
Nick, I have a comment or question.
Sure.
So this has come up several times in class, especially with Geshe Solga. People have animals, usually dogs, that are very sick. And so they're suffering, and so they want to euthanize them. But he was really adamant that unless you can see what's going to happen to them when they die, you shouldn't do that. So it's sort of a dilemma we all have, because the veterinarian will often encourage us to do that if they're sick.
Yeah, well, I was just going to mention that actually, that Geshe-la was very much, he said, if you euthanize, or in other words, kill your pet, even when it's near the end of its life and it's very sick, it's like you spent all those years, 10, 15, 20 years with your pet, just in order to create the negative karma of killing. So, and we go through that here quite often with the rabbits that Wendy's rescued. We just had 2 that died in the last few months, and the vet wanted to euthanize them or kill them. Yeah, so I couldn't think of the word euphemism. Euthanasia is a euphemism for killing. But, we bring them home and make them comfortable, and we play the mantras, and we have holy objects on them and around them, and the mantras that you use to bless the body, and keep them comfortable, and you can sedate them, but let them expend their karma naturally. And we're doing it out of compassion and a little bit of wisdom. I think that's the best course to take, and it's very difficult. And often you say, "Oh, I want to put the animal out of misery." What you're really wanting to do is put yourself out of your misery of feeling guilty and bad that your pet, over whose life you have complete control, you're putting them through this terrible suffering. But as Geshe Tsulga said, unless you have clairvoyance and you can see that if you kill them, they'll go to a better place rather than a worse one, and then it's better not to be proactive in that way. Anyway, this could take up the rest of the discussion, so I don't know that we want to get into this. Each of us has to make our own decision, but it's like this whole abortion thing. Abortion from the Buddhist point of view is killing a human being. So, the right to life people have got that correct, that it's murder. Which stage it's murder? Well, if the human mind has entered the products of conception, that's a nascent human being. So killing it is, aborting it is taking a human life. But whether the government should get involved and make laws about it, or whether education should explain to people what it is, and then, these are very difficult social issues. Anyway, I really want to finish this today, so we have to just keep going. But these are all here, they're available. And I think we all need to read these and think about Geshe-la's teaching. And there are many other teachings on the Bodhisattva vows. I can't find it now, I've got so many books here at the moment. There's this one, Chandragoman's 20 verses on the Bodhisattva vows. If we're taking them, then we should study them and think about them and know exactly where we stand in relation to each one. So not helping others who are sick, we're supposed to help them. "37, not alleviating the suffering of others. The previous one is particularly concerned with illness, whereas this one is general suffering. We must help people who are having any suffering. We must get involved to help them eliminate their suffering. So, Wendy, we have a friend who's very sick, who's been in severe pain for like 3 years, and nothing has helped her. And there's a clinic in Southern California that has offered some relief. So a week ago, Wendy flew with her to Southern California to help her get some treatment and look after her while she's doing that. So, that's a little bit of a bodhisattva activity there. 38. And I'm stuck here with the rabbits. 37, no, 38. Not explaining what is proper conduct to those who are reckless. Lama Tsongkhapa says this downfall is connected with the source of suffering. Of course, we need to help people reduce their suffering, but it's also necessary to help them reduce their cause of suffering to reach a deeper level. The word used in the vow is reckless. Perhaps careless also applies. It means behavior with a lack of consideration for the result. Many of our daily sufferings and worries, physical as well as mental, are due to this. So here it is pointing to the cause of suffering, a lack of mindfulness or lack of responsibility. "39. Not benefiting in return those who have benefited oneself. From this downfall onwards, we are moving from sentient beings in general to more specific sentient beings. This first one refers to beings who have benefited us, which in Buddhist texts is often seen as our parents and our spiritual masters. Spread over all our lifetimes, all sentient beings have been so helpful to us, but here we're looking at this lifetime. For example, our parents have helped us physically, giving us this body, bringing us up when we were helpless, making tremendous sacrifices for us and taking huge responsibility. Mentally, we've been really helped by people who have given us teachings about how to have a positive mind. Repaying their kindness can be achieved by doing similar kindnesses, such as when our parents get old and helpless, we look after them in the way they did for us. Or it can be in other ways. We can repay their kindness by becoming a good person or by following their advice. For our spiritual masters, following in their footsteps is a perfect way to repay their kindness. So we can also help our parents by trying to introduce them to the Dharma, if they're open to it, or if they take an interest in what we're doing, then if we can get them to study Dharma or even become Buddhist, I think that's a great way to repay their kindness. 40, of course, can be difficult. 40, not relieving the sorrow of others. When people are in a particular state of misery, such as having lost their loved ones, friends, relatives, or possessions, as in a natural disaster, such as an earthquake or even something more personal and small, then we must try to help them. Try to make time to listen and talk to people who are depressed. This might be more difficult than talking to a friend who is happy, but think of the difference. It's like the difference between giving a glass of water to someone in the desert dying of thirst and someone who's just had 3 glasses of champagne. The object being offered is the same, and maybe our motivation is the same, but from the receiver's side, it's very different. To the thirsty person, it is nectar, whereas to the other one, there's no real appreciation. Generally, of course, we must reach all sentient beings, but in particular cases, where a person really needs our help, we should not avoid getting involved. At this point, I'd like to offer myself a glass of water. And I've not just had 3 glasses of champagne, even though I may sound a little incoherent. 41, not giving material possessions to those in need. 3 glasses of champagne and I'm under the table. Not giving material possessions to those in need. This is similar to the previous one, although here the emphasis is on material help rather than time and mental help. Lama Tsongkhapa's explanation emphasizes that we should give whatever we can to someone who badly needs it. I think here, Lama Zopa Rinpoche's activities in material giving, I don't know if you follow FPMT or Rinpoche's special projects, but it's just unbelievable. People are always giving him offerings and giving him money, and he just uses it to benefit others all the time. Whether helping people in Nepal after the earthquake, or giving so much help to Tibetan old people's homes. It's a huge list of things that Rinpoche supports and does to help others in a material way. This is on top of course, giving constant teachings and helping all the centers and supporting the monks. And it's just, if you look on the FPMT website for the way that Lama Zopa Rinpoche helps others in so many different ways, it's incredible. And as members of the FPMT, or even a little remotely, we're sort of participating in that. So I really love to support those activities, even in a small way, because then we become, that way we become sort of part of the whole thing. And, fulfilling this bodhisattva vow to give material things to people in need. 42, not working for the welfare of one's circles of friends, students, employees, and helpers. Again, this downfall looks at specific people who put their trust in us, who have some real hope that we can help them in some way. It's looking at people we have some connection with. It's like when we go for a job interview, if the person who is interviewing us is a friend, we feel confident the job is ours. Whereas if they're a stranger, we have no such hope. Although, of course, this never happens in this time of equal opportunity. I guess I'm making a little joke. In the same way, if we have a certain group of people who rely on us, we have to look after them in whatever way is necessary. So he's saying, I think employers aren't allowed to favor their friends and engage in nepotism or favoritism when maybe they don't know someone who's more qualified, and they don't give the person the job because you want to give it to your friend. So these days that's supposed to happen less, although I'm not sure if it does. 43, not acting in accordance with the wishes of others, if doing so does not bring harm to oneself or others. So when the circumstances are right, we should go along with the other person's suggestion, whatever that suggestion is. There may be reasons where it's not skillful to do this, of course, but then we should discuss it with them rather than just not doing it. In general, however, rather than impose our own will on a situation, we should accept the other person's ideas. So it was very interesting watching Lama Yeshe over the years, people would come to him with these like incredibly harebrained schemes, ways of making money to support the monastery, or doing this or doing that. And those of us who are around, when we hear this, people coming up with this, we think, what the hell are you talking about? Lama would always be, oh, yes. He would always, whenever a person was offering to do anything, even how crazy it seemed, he would sort of go with the energy. And so rather than just reject the person like that, he would encourage, so the person would kind of think, oh, Lama's listening, he's hearing me, he thinks I've got a good idea. But then he would skillfully steer them away from it, So he would sort of ride their energy and take them into a positive direction. I saw that happen many times, and it was really skillful. 44, not praising those who have good qualities. So Lama Tsongkhapa says we must appreciate people who have good qualities, such as great compassion or great wisdom, because normally when a person is very capable of appreciating others' good qualities, that will prepare the way for them to develop those qualities themselves. Without a sense of appreciation, there'd be no interest in doing it ourselves. So sometimes if someone has good qualities and, our teacher is praising that person, we might feel resentful or jealous. So that's always wrong, whenever someone has good qualities, we should rejoice in those good qualities. And if we don't have them ourselves, we should aspire to acquire them. 45, not acting with whatever means are necessary according to the circumstances to stop someone who's doing harmful action. So the last two downfalls are saying that although we must not do anything to harm sentient beings, there are circumstances where we might have to act quite forcefully to stop them harming themselves. When a person or a group is causing themselves or others pain and difficulties, really unlawfully or immorally treating great numbers of sentient beings badly, we should not just accept that, saying we are Buddhists and therefore passive people. We should oppose them skillfully. Well, the great example is the monk Pelgi Dorji, who killed the Tibetan ruler Langdama because he was destroying the Dharma in Tibet so badly. This is way back, before Atisha came, this King Langdama, who was an anti-Buddhist king, he wanted to restore the Bon tradition, the animist religion of Tibet that had existed before. And so, he came to power and he really, he killed monks, burned texts, destroyed monasteries. He did more of a number on Buddhism than the Chinese have ever been able to do. And because he was harming the Dharma and harming sentient beings as a result so badly, that this monk, Pelgi Dorji, killed him. And then Buddhism began to sort of regrow in Tibet, but it was growing in all wrong directions. So then this king in Western Tibet, where Buddhism had not been destroyed, was far from Lhasa, far from where Langdama was. I don't know if Lhasa existed then. He invited Atisha to come to Tibet to restore pure Buddhism to Tibet. So then Atisha came and wrote this text that I've been neglecting so badly, but we'll get back to next week, and help restore pure Buddhism to Tibet. So I'm not saying we should, kill our bad rulers, but that's an example of, and then there's that story where the Buddha in a previous life was on that ship 500 traders, and someone was planning to kill them all and steal all the stuff. So the Buddha, as a bodhisattva in his previous life, he killed that person to stop him creating the terrible negative karma and to save the lives of those other 500 people. So in those cases, you know, the person had clear vision of the benefit of killing that particular person. So, you know, we don't have that clear vision, so we shouldn't kill anybody. Not using miraculous powers if one possesses this ability in order to stop others from doing unwholesome actions. So I don't know if anyone here has miraculous powers, but generally speaking, even if bodhisattvas have clairvoyance or other miraculous powers, they are not allowed to show them without good reason. Here, Lama Tsongkhapa says, if someone is trying to eliminate the teachings which are greatly benefiting sentient beings, then if we have miraculous powers, we must use them to stop that person. So Geshe-la said he's basing this, and he keeps referring to Lama Tsongkhapa. He was basing it on Lama Tsongkhapa's commentary on the Bodhisattva Bhumi, this amazing book by heart, translated by Aranga, Bodhisattva's Path to Unsuppressed Enlightenment. So Lama Tsongkhapa's commentary on the Bodhisattva vows is called Changshub Shunglam. And I asked Art Engel, who translated this, if he knew if the translation of Lama Tsongkhapa's text. So it turns out I have it. It's in the other room. But it was I'll just tell you what he said. He said that Mark Tatz, who is a long-time Buddhist scholar, he translated this book. It's called The Sangha's Chapter on Ethics with the Commentary of Tsongkhapa, The Basic Path to Awakening, Complete Bodhisattva. Anyway, you can't see it really, but the cover is funny. It's just this black cover with the name of the publisher on it, Edward Mellon. But this is it's basically out of print, or it's quite expensive, $60. I've had it for a long time. I didn't realize what it was. There was Lama Tsongkhapa's commentary that Geshe-la is basing his explanation of the Bodhisattva vows on. The other thing that I was told was that Mark is, I've known him for a long time. He's quite critical of Tsongkhapa, which I thought was not fair. So that kind of cast a little shade on this translation. So I haven't looked at it yet, but so Lama Tsongkhapa, it is available if you want to buy a hardcover copy for $60. It's on Amazon. Mark Tatz, T-A-T-Z, T-A-T-Z, The Sangha's Chapter on Ethics. So it's a commentary on the perfection of morality in a Sangha's Bodhisattva Bhumi. So I think I'm going to stop here because the next section you have to read for yourself, restoring the vows, if you've broken them. There's a section on restoring the monastic vows, restoring the bodhisattva vows, and there's the right for the remedy. So if you've broken bodhisattva vows, there's a way to restore them here. The other way we can restore them is just the way we do when we do the Guru Puja. There's that short section on Bodhisattva vows that we recite 3 times. So if you've taken the Bodhisattva vows, that will purify the broken vows, and we can take them ourselves in that way. But if you haven't taken the Bodhisattva vows and you want to, quite often these days, I mean, a few times a year anyway, His Holiness offers them on his live teachings that he's doing from Dharamsala. And so you can take them from His Holiness the next time that comes up. If you go to dalailama.com, then that's got his whole schedule there. Or you can take them this afternoon from Jada Rinpoche, he came to Kurukulla Center. A few of us met him there 2 or 3 years ago. He was the abbot of the Namgyal Monastery, His Holiness's monastery in Dharamsala, for a number of years. He's a very learned and powerful teacher. So I don't know how you find that teaching of this Tara Jenang, the permission to practice. It's permission to practice. It's not a full initiation. And the commitment may be to recite the Tara mantra, which a lot of us do anyway. So if you went to Maitripa College, it's probably maitripa.org, I think it is. You probably see the details of that at 2 o'clock today. And have we made this commentary available? Geshe Tashi Tsering, is that on the Kurukulla website under resources, or is there a link to it in the chat or something?
There's a link to it in the chat. It's not on our website, but it's from the Shantideva. Yeah,
okay, there it is, shantideva.org. So you can download that PDF if you want to study this. It's quite long. It's a little bit, a little bit off topic, just like the last 3 months. And but it's Atisha is talking about the ritual for taking the Bodhisattva vows, and the 7 limb practices are preliminary. So that's why I thought it would be good to spend some time introducing the Bodhisattva vows, just quickly like this, and spending a little time on the 7 limb practice as found in Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga, because we do that every time, and it contains the essence of purification, creation, and merit. So if we want to understand the teachings we study, and if we want to prepare our mind for realizations, we have to do a lot of purification, we have to create a lot of merit. And doing the 7 limb practice is a great way of doing that. Okay, so thanks for putting up with all these tangents, and we'll get back to Atisha's Lamp for the Path next week, and hopefully won't stray too far from it going forward. Okay, so thanks everybody. And we generated bodhicitta at the beginning. We've been talking about the bodhisattva vows, so we really created a lot of merit. So we want to dedicate that. So I think, because of this merit, so visualize, huge mountain of merit. So because of this merit, may all sentient beings quickly reach enlightenment. So we dedicate the merit we've created to the enlightenment of all sentient beings. We'll give it away. Don't selfishly try to hang on to it for ourselves. Thanks, Bob.
Saji Perky Jukching Me Tok Tram Ri Rabling Jini De Gien Pa De Sange Jing Du Ming Te Uai Bi Drokun Nam Dak Jing Lacher Pa Shok Je Tsun La Me Kutse Rap Den Ching Nam Kat Klen Ne Chok Chur Gi Pa Dam Lo Sang Ten Pe Dren Me Sa Sung Gi Dro E Mun Sel Tak Tu Ne Gyur Chik Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayami. From my two collections, vast is space that I have amassed from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time. May I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose minds' wisdom eye is blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, may I be held in your loving compassion for all my lives, Manjushri. May I find the best of complete graded paths of the teachings, and may I please all the Buddhas by practicing. Using skillful means drawn by the strong force of compassion, may I clear the darkness from the minds of all beings with the points of the path as I have discerned them. May I uphold the Buddha's teachings for a very long time. With my heart going out with great compassion in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread, or once spread or declined, may I reveal this treasure of happiness and aid. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted bounteous peace, and the Buddha's deeds be nourished for a long time. By even this graded course to enlightenment completed due to the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their children. May all human and non-human beings who eliminate adversity and make things conducive for practicing the excellent paths never be parted in any of their lives from the purest path praised by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes an effort to act in accordance with the tenfold Mahayana virtuous practices, may they always be assisted by the mighty ones, and may oceans of prosperity spread everywhere. In that snow mountain encircled land, source of every benefit and joy, may Lord Tenzin Gyatso Chenrezig remain in life till samsara's end. Savior of the snowland teachings and transmigratory beings, who extensively clarifies the path that unifies emptiness and compassion, to the lotus in the hand, Lord Tenzin Gyatso, I beseech, may all your holy wishes be fulfilled. You who uphold the subduer's moral way, who serve as a bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading Majjhana's victorious doctrine, who masterfully accomplishes magnificent prayers honoring the three jewels, Savior of myself and others, your disciples, please, please live long. Through this virtue may I swiftly, having gained Guru Buddha's state, place each and every sentient being without exception in that state. Precious supreme Bodhi mind, may it where unborn arise, and where born never decline, but increase forevermore. Mig say wait chen rezik dream ken pei wang po jam pel yang gang chen ke pei su gen song ka pa lo sang drang pei Jabla Solwade.
Okay, thanks again, everybody. See you next week.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Bob.
Thanks, Nick.
Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.